So we're going to talk Sphere and Gear. This is Ben Kinney's plan for how you follow up with your Sphere. I want to tell you guys a story. I'm going to share my screen here. My mom is a real estate agent. And Calvin, you've heard all my stories about my mom, and you get a chance to work with her occasionally. And she is a real estate agent, and I'm super proud of my mother. In her first year in real estate, which was 2017, like that calendar year, she did 79 transactions. And she started in September of 2016. And in our world, I'll actually show you really quick. In our world, we have this model. And when we hire somebody and we bring an agent into our business, we let them know that the left-hand side of this pie, right, is their job when they join our team. Their job is to work their Sphere. Their job is to go out and do 2 open houses every week. And their job is to make Kevin 150 prospecting dials a day, Monday through Friday, on Mojo, right? And that's kind of how we help an agent in their first 30, 60, or 90 days get into production. Like for us, that's a big deal, right? If you're going to join our team, you're putting the financial hopes of your family on our back. Like we're going to give you a plan of how you get into production. The right-hand side of this, by the way, is what we call the spoils of the business, right, Kevin? If they do their job on the left, they get to participate in those things that really, as a new agent, you can't just, unless you have a nice little savings before you came into the industry, you're not just coming out of the gates firing off on internet leads necessarily. They're expensive, right? You don't have any listings because you don't have any clients and nobody's going to list their house with you, right? We got to go find those things. And the way we find revenue that we can spend later on internet leads or listings, right, is by doing the things on the left-hand side of the pie. Well, so my mom joins the Ben Kinney's organization in September of 2016. And she started doing her open houses, right? She was doing 2 every week, Kevin. That's the standard on our team. She started making her prospecting calls, and my mom had never made prospecting calls in her life up to that point, right? She's a 6-year-old lady. She'd been like a corporate executive at a Fortune 500 company, very successful, really intelligent, never made cold calls ever, right? In fact, she hated doing it, but she did it. Why? Because we told her this is the path to get into production. But for whatever reason, Gavin, for whatever reason, my mother did not work her Sphere. You know the story, Kevin. She tripled down on open houses. Like she did 26 open houses in December of 2016. There was really a catalyst that kind of, swung shot her into 2017 and that really amazing year that she would have selling 79 houses, but she did not work her Sphere. So she goes through this.
Let's also mention where she was doing those open houses in December, Bob. I think that's an important part of the story.
Washington State here, where it's rainy and drizzly.
That's right.
She did 2, and in some cases 3 every day between Christmas and New Year's, because the Christmas and New Year's fell on a holiday, and or on the weekends. So she thought maybe there won't be many people going to work next week, so let's have a couple open houses every day. Anyway, she didn't work her Sphere, you guys. It was part of the plan. She really leaned into like the prospecting, which she hated. Really into the open houses, but for whatever reason, and in asking her in hindsight, she's like, I didn't know what to say. I figured they'd kind of see that I was out doing real estate, and if they needed something, they'd reach out to me, right? And then Facebook, right? Like I'm connected to them all on Facebook, and so she Kevin, at one point she'd set her goal at 80, and my mother, she's a really high D, get shit done,
get it done,
French. And so originally her goal had been 40. When she realized she was going to blow past that, she set her goal at 80 and she missed it, right? She has 79. To this day, 5 years later, she's still like under her breath grovels about the fact she didn't hit her goal. But in July of that following year, she's had this amazing 2017. In July of 2018, she's at my grandmother's 93rd or 94th birthday party. And she bumps into her cousin at that birthday party. And her cousin, as they're chatting, hey, Gail, how's it going? And by the way, this is the cousin that my mom, they fix her cars, right? And she just hadn't had a car in to be worked on by them for a little while, right? But they fixed my mom's car, and she knows their story. They own 10 rental properties. And they had sold 6 of them in that previous year, and not with my mom.
Wow.
And in this conversation, just, it's her cousin, right? You don't see her as a grown adults in your 60s, Kevin. How often do you see your cousins? Not very often, right?
Not very often.
I know it's not the case for me. I'm in my 40s and now I've got lots of cousins and I don't see them on Facebook or whatever, but I don't connect with them very often. And in talking to her, I said, "Oh my gosh, Jill, well, congratulations. You guys, you still have the 4 left." Like, she's like, "You should have called me. I totally could have helped." Basically, right? And Jill said, "Oh no, Gail, totally. I know. And just, you seem so busy. You seem so busy," right? Which in my head is code for, you should have called me. What do you mean I could call you for help? Like, if you wanted my business, you could have called me.
Right. The words there are, you seemed so.
Yeah,
there was no connection there for them to actually know a failure again on mom's part.
Yeah. She'd been on Facebook, right, Kevin, talking about going to do the next listing appointment, or, we put these little things out.
And then be at the open house.
Yeah, we would do like, look at the view on my drive to my listing appointment, right? We try to have these kind of soft ways of like letting people know we're in real estate. But the reality is sometimes you just need to call people and ask them if they'd be comfortable doing business with us. And there are some people, I actually think, my mom's, they still have 4. They're still sitting on those 4. They will sell those with my mom because now she's made it a point to try to kind of win their business, right? By checking in on them frequently. And there are people in your guys' world that just will not do business with you unless you ask them. They just won't, right? They want to feel valued. They want to feel like you're actually trying to earn their business. So, my mom still kicks herself over that one. In her head, she should have had 85 deals in 2017. But here's another reason, right? That's like somebody she knew, grew up with, right? Like, you think, oh, they do business with me. They know I'm a real estate agent. Here's where else, like, here's the other reason we need a kind of a dedicated approach to working our sphere. And by the way, your sphere and gear is your past clients as well, right? Like, we lump our past, we know their past clients versus like somebody in our sphere that we haven't necessarily done business with, Kevin. But this applies to both of these groups. And here's why it applies to the past client groups. We've coined this term in our world called the loyalty gap. And I'll give credit to the first person I heard this from, which was Chris Stewart, our place president and the former CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Chris knows that every year NAR goes out and surveys home buyers and home sellers, and they compile that survey in something called the Home Buyer and Seller Generational Trends Report. And this is the most recent one we have now is from the year 2021, and the results out of the surveys they did in 2021. This is from 2020. These numbers, they've been surveying these numbers for years, right? They change, Kevin, by a percentage point or 2 from year to year. In fact, I think the most recent one, this went from being 90%, it ticked up to like 91 or 92% of buyers said that they would definitely or probably use or recommend their agent to other people. So they're going to use them again when I go to sell this house, or I'd recommend them to others, right? 75% are highly likely or definitely going to do it. Unfortunately, though, Calvin, this shows when people sold their house, how did they find their real estate agent they sold their house with? And you'll notice the second most common is they use the agent, but only 27%. So if only 27% of people who sold their house use the agent that they bought the house with, like what? 73% of your past clients don't actually do any business with you guys. They go do business with somebody else. And then the number one source is that they were referred by a friend, neighbor, or relative. So we got to make sure our sphere knows we're in real estate. They got to make sure that they feel valued. We got to make sure in some cases that we've actually asked them if they feel comfortable referring their friends, family, colleagues to us. So some of the reasons our sphere doesn't produce. We expect they'll remember us, right? We expect that the stuff we put out on Facebook will make them go, oh, my cousin Gail, she's a real estate agent. he failed to stay in touch, right? My mom didn't stay in touch with her cousin Jill. She just made some assumptions that she had that business locked up, I guess. I don't know. We don't look for new signs, right? We're not paying attention maybe to what what our database is showing us about the people in there if we've got the right tools in place. We send spam. Sometimes we force our sphere, Kevin, to unsubscribe from the stuff we send because they're like, look, Kevin, I don't need to know when to change my clocks, but I'm tired of getting your emails. Like, just stop.
I thought he knew I didn't have gutters. What's going on?
Yeah. Kevin's like, clean your gutters. And the guy's like, that's why I pay my HOA. Stop sending me this garbage, Kevin. We can't build rapport on the phone. Like, and the reality is, because we can't build rapport on the phone, we don't even call our sphere, right? We rely on text, Kevin. We rely on campaigns and we drip on them, right? Has anybody ever walked down the street, had a drip drop on your face? Like sometimes when you're in New York City or something, that'll happen. There's like an overhang from a building and you'll just be walking along and all of a sudden you get dripped on. Does anybody like that? Kevin, you like getting dripped on?
That is awful. That's an awful visual.
Oh, it's scary. You're like, what was that? Why did Kevin just send me that text message that had nothing to do with anything in my world?
Yeah.
We focus on the wrong messaging potentially, right? Now look, we're gonna dive in here. We're gonna talk about this particular slice of Brivity, right? The sphere component. Now, when you start on one of our teams, you come to the table. It's the very, like, if you show up on day one without this, day one was day in. That was the last day.
It was it.
And you know this, right?
First and last.
First and last. Congratulations. You set the record. What you got to bring is 200, a minimum of 200 people that we start with at least one piece of contact information, an email address, a phone number, a physical address, although that's not very common. That the only thing you know about somebody in your sphere is where they live, right? Generally, you have an email and a phone number. And we show up day one, 200. Now, some people, the overachievers in our world, they show up with 300, 400 people that they know, right? People I went to school with, people at my last job, the people in my phone, the people I'm connected to on Facebook. That we've yet to find an agent that when pushed couldn't find 200 people to bring to the table. Now, Kevin Narr says that the average homeowner sells every 10 years. Now, look, not everybody we bring to the table in our sphere is a homeowner, right? And so every one of you out in areas have a home ownership rate, right? In Whatcom County, where I'm sitting right now today, the home ownership rate is 62%. So statistics would tell me if I brought 200 people to the table, that 124 of those, 62% of 200, 124 of them would be homeowners. Kevin, if 10 of them, if they move every 10 years, there's 12 people in my group of 200 that are going to buy and sell a house next year. Just like the low end, just statistically, right?
Yep.
We know there are deals to be had in our sphere if we work it. Now, think about this: 40% of buyers and sellers work with an agent that was referred to them by somebody. So not only is our sphere going to buy or sell, they're going to know people that are buying or selling. We believe that an effectively worked sphere can produce between 12 and 24 transactions a year. Now, who's in there, right? Your cell phone, your Facebook, your email, like who do you email with, who you connect to on LinkedIn, vendors you use. I don't remember Ben. I've heard him say a number of times, like, look, my hair lady, right? His hair lady gives him referrals. And if she didn't, he gets haircuts somewhere else. Kevin, right?
Yeah.
He sends her referrals all the time. Every time somebody new moves into Bellingham, Ben's like, look, here's my list of people to go to. When you need something, you're going to need to get your haircut at some point. Go see Jenny. She's amazing. Right? So she's a sphere. She's somebody he can rely on to call and reach out to and invite to the stuff that he's got going on and occasionally ask her for referrals. Now, he doesn't need to ask her anymore because he's trained her to send him referrals. But here's some of the people that would feed that database. Then after that, right, we come to the table, we've got at least one piece of contact information, and we have those 200 at a minimum individuals. We fill in the blanks. And Kevin, inside of Brivity, it's really easy to see those blanks, right? You pull them up on that index, and you can just see if they don't have a phone number, the phone number thing's grayed out, right? If they don't have an email, that's grayed out. If they're missing an address, it's a blank. And I can really easily pull up and look at my sphere and be like, oh, hey, I have a phone number for Jesse, but I don't have his email.
Or even run one of our multiple filter opportunities, right?
Yeah,
those right at once and make all the calls to get all the physical addresses and the birthdays and the other details that are important.
We got to fill in the blanks, right? And specifically, we want to know, especially if they own a home, what's that address? For us, that's really crucial that we get our hands on their address, because one of the major tools that we use to nurture our sphere is our market reports, and we need their address to be able to set them up on one that has meaning or value. So we fill in the blanks. I can't tell you how many people, like your past clients, we go look in your database right now and run a filter for past clients, has no address. Like we see that there's thousands, the hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of past clients in your guys' databases that we don't have their address. Like, what? I get if they moved out of town, like I'd still want to know where they moved to.
And we have it. We just don't have it in the place that we're supposed to have.
That's right. You have it. You have it in your phone or in your email, right? Or like some of you guys have it like in the old paper transaction file, like sitting in the file cabinet behind your desk, right?
On Pilot.
So you can use the filters in here and go in and see which of my past clients am I missing an address for? Am I missing a phone number for? Right? Again, you have that information. You just got to plant it in the database. At the very end of the day, Kevin, when you're getting ready, you and the wifey are getting ready to retire. Kevin's like, high five, honey, we're moving to Costa Rica. We got our little casino down on the beach there. And you're like, who wants to buy my real estate business? What they would be buying from you is the data in your database, right? If you're ever going to pass your book of business on to somebody and hope that it has value, it's going to have value based on the data that's in here. Then we're going to organize it a little bit, right? So we use, in Ben's world and in some of our teams, and we do this a variety of ways, but we will tag everybody with sphere, right? Every single sphere, like if me and Kevin were both on the team, all of my contacts would have a sphere tag and all of Kevin's contacts would have a sphere tag. Subsequently, then, we'll also tag mine with Bob's sphere and Kevin's with Kevin's sphere. Then later, if we want to, if my admin, I was like, hey, Jack, go and invite all of mine and Kevin's sphere to this event that we're hosting, right? We're doing the movie theater thing. We want our spheres to all come. He would just go in and pull the sphere tag, and that would pull both mine and Kevin's. But if I was like, hey, I'm having a little party, I don't even like Kevin's sphere, all of his friends are a-holes, like just invite my friends, he could go in and just put my tag in and pull my stuff. I'm just kidding, Kevin. I love your friends, man.
I do too. They're the same friends.
Then we use something additional. And on our teams, we use A+, A, B, and C. And all that means our A+ sphere refer us 2 or more transactions a year. They're consistently referring us 2 or more stuff. Our A's refer us once a year, right? Our B's, our B's have said they would refer us stuff, but they do not do it consistently. And our C's, we just know them. Now we're constantly, there's a script I'm going to give you guys later that's really the differentiation between our C's and our B's. It's have we asked them if they're comfortable referring people to us, but we'll get to that in a minute. There's other ways, some people will tag their spheres. It's different ways. We do it like this. And, because when Ben has look, he's got a lot going on here in Bellingham, right? He's got this little event space that he owns, and he'll host dinners there sometimes, a couple times a year. That's only for his A+ sphere, right? So he needs to easily be able to identify those. When he hosts his Christmas party every year, he invites his A+ and his A sphere, and I think maybe his B's, but not his C's, right? So we want to be able to differentiate, they're somebody that refers me 4 or 5 people a year. They need an extra level of love and attention and care than somebody that, I just know, but I've never had a conversation about referring me business. Now we could export these people later, right? Like if we want to go send a mailer to all of our past clients to let them know we just sold a house, or let them know we got an event coming up, or we can run an export on a mailing list. maybe we want to get them all into a triple line dialer because we're going to call them and invite them to something we have going on, right? Maybe we're doing we do a lot of fundraisers, right? Or a lot of community events. We might want to throw them in a dialer and bang out, triple line dials on a Mojo or something. So we can export these people out of here if we've got maybe I want to, do send out cards and make sure that they've got, a Christmas card. And although Brivity Marketer has those things today, we don't necessarily export out for that stuff, right? Now, here's what our sphere and gear is. And I'm going to go through this, and there are 5 different elements, and each element has a frequency. And so the elements are, we call them, we email them, we hit them on social media, we send physical mail to them, and then we try to get face-to-face with them, depending on how important they are to us, a couple times a year. Those are the 5 methods: call, email, social media touch, physical mail, face-to-face. And then each one of those methods has a frequency that's ideal. Now, something that we do in our world a lot, Kevin, is we build kind of the plan. And like, as I'm going to give it to you guys today, this is the ideal. We don't always hit the ideal, guys. I don't want to act like everybody in our sphere got a 1 call a month, 2 emails, and one, like, look, sometimes our sphere gets called 5 times a year instead of 12, right? But we don't let our sphere not hear from us each year, Kevin, right? That turns into a Gale scenario where my cousin's saying to me, hey, you seem so busy because you never called me. So the first one is we call our sphere, and our ideal or our aim is once a month. And that seems like a lot, except we got a lot going on, Kevin. Our teams do a lot in the areas that they serve. So less than half of the outreaches that we are making have anything to do with our business, right? In fact, most of the outreaches that we are making in the course of a year are us inviting them to something. Like, we do a food truck rally, Kevin. So in the spring here in Bellingham, Ben rents a couple food trucks, invites all their friends and family to come to this park kind of next to our office and hang out and eat some good food from around Bellingham, right? And so the month before, we call all of our sphere, and that's our outreach that month. Jim, how's it going? Bob, over here at the Ben Kinney team. It's spring, so our food truck rally's coming up, bud. Just want to let you guys know it's on March 6th. Bring the kids. We're going to have a clown out there tying up balloons. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be a face painter, right? We'll see you guys there. Kevin, we do many months throughout the year. We'll do some kind of a drive, right? We'll do some of our teams do coat drives in the winter, or we'll do school supplies drives in the summer, or those kind of things, right? We'll do other things where we'll rent the Easter Bunny. And we'll have the Easter Bunny, and the kids can come on the Saturday before Easter and get pictures with the Easter Bunny. And we call people the couple weeks before, the month before, and say, hey, we're going to have the Easter Bunny. Make sure you bring the kids out, right? Oh, you don't have kids? That's right. Bring your nephews and nieces. But here are 2 scripts that are business related that at some point we are going to deploy. And the first one gets said to almost everybody in our sphere and every one of our past clients every year. And we generally deliver it December, January, as late as even into February right now, and we'll deliver it again occasionally mid-year, right? Halfway into the year. But it sounds something like this. Hey, Kevin, it's Bob Stewart. How you doing, bud?
Hey, Bob. Thanks for calling.
Do you have a quick sec?
Sure.
Awesome. Kevin, you know that Aaron and I, my wife, and Kevin would know maybe my wife, but I'd say, my wife and I, we love Disneyland. You know this about me, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a trip planned. Aaron and I are trying to put a trip together for later this year. So I was just reaching out to all my buddies, all my friends, and see, do you guys have any real estate related needs for the rest of the year, Kevin?
No, not right now, but maybe come summertime, we might be thinking about looking at some options.
Awesome. What are we doing? We're going to get into the Airbnb game like so many of my clients are doing, or what are we up to? What do you guys?
Yeah, it just seems like a good time to sell from what I'm seeing.
That's the script. Do you have any real estate related plans for the year? right? And we would often wrap it around this idea that I'm trying to have a vacation this year. I want to plan it, but I don't want to plan it. I don't want to go out of town, Kevin, when you might. Do you have any real estate related plans for the year?
Yeah.
And look, what will come back from that? Stuff like, what do you mean? So what are you thinking about selling that place, you guys? I know you love that house, so probably not that, but any investments, real estate investments. A lot of my most financially savvy people are getting into the rental game right now. It's Airbnbs, refinance. Have you guys taken advantage of the low rates? They're creeping right now. I'm sure you've seen that in the news. Anything real estate related, Kevin. You don't have any plans. So that's a script that we'll deploy that mid-year. Hey, we just want to see if you guys have any real estate related needs for the rest of the year, right? We're trying to get a hunting trip planned or whatever, right? That's the kind of stuff people do in the fall. Now, here's the other one. Here's another one that's definitely at some point, and this was fascinating. We have a guy on our Atlanta team who told me he was reaching out to some past clients recently. A great way to reach out to his past clients. He doesn't have $1 million. So on their home anniversary, Kevin, he'll do a little mini quick CMA for them and he'll send it out to them using Brivity CMA tool, right? He'll send it out to them and he'll say, hey, Sharon, just want to let you guys know I ran a quick CMA. Happy home anniversary. Hope you're still loving the place. Listen, big high five. You guys are up about an estimated $60,000 in equity in the first 2 years. Like things are looking good. We made a great decision. I hope you guys are still loving the house. He had one of his clients respond to him at one point, and this was just recently in December. And she said, hey, Matt, listen, thank you. Listen, we've had a pretty big change in plans here in our lives. And do you sell houses too? And now, Kevin, this is somebody he'd help them buy their house.
Yeah.
And they didn't know, and then had to ask him, like, do you sell houses too? And so I know that Matt had never had this conversation. And this is a conversation that Ben used to use all the time, right? Where he would say, hey, Kevin, how's it going? It's Bob. Listen, do you have a sec?
Have a sec, yeah, sure.
And I forget if I've ever asked you, and so I just wanted to ask you, would you feel comfortable if you or any of your friends, family, or colleagues had any kind of a question related to real estate? Would you be comfortable either referring them to me or you coming to me directly to get that question answered or to have me help?
Absolutely, Bob. Sure. That's
Kevin, I so appreciate that. And that's it, right? It's now, if Matt had that conversation and the script, when you'd actually maybe develop it a little bit, right? Kevin, listen, would you be comfortable referring your friends or family or you coming to me directly if you had a question related to real estate at all? You're buying a question about selling, or you were thinking about selling, you wanted to refinance, maybe you wanted to get into investing and figure out how your retirement could be partially funded by real estate investments. Would you be comfortable coming to me? If Matthew had that conversation with his past client, at least somewhere in their head, they would have known that he's in real estate. And one of our partners, Carl Herndon, said to me recently, after we were doing this same thing with our teams, we're constantly beating this into their heads. And Carl said to his team, yeah, and you have to say this to people like more than once, right, Kevin? Because if I said that to you once and now it's 2 years later, I might need to say it to you again. Kevin, I can't remember the last time I've asked you this, but I want to make sure that you are still comfortable. Are you still comfortable referring your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers to me if you come across anybody that's thinking or talking about real estate? And if Kevin said, yeah, Bob, absolutely, I'd say, no, I think the last time I asked you this was 2 years ago. You said the same thing. I can't wait to get that first referral from you.
What I love about that, Bob, is that no one's ever going to think it's weird that you're asking them that question, because you're stating that you're in real estate. You're calling them. You're not doing a lot of small talk. It's really just a very straight up question. And if we asked it enough times, then they're going to expect you to ask that question.
That's right. That's right, Kevin. Right. We train people on what to expect from us.
Yep. Exactly.
Now, that's why we don't always just call and ask them for business every month, right? There are other things sometimes we have a couple calls a year where we're just calling to check in and see how they're doing, right? And a lot of times we'll use social media to inform those calls. The call, when we give them a call after we see something that's happened in their life, or maybe even we're just planning to call them. And so we go looking for something to talk about with them. All right. So once a month, we're going to call them. And all we're going to do is use an auto plan in Brivity that has a reminder at the cadence. Here's the cold, hard reality of this, though. Some of our agents on our teams realize they cannot keep this pace up. And so they will back it off to every other month. Right? Some of them are even doing it probably once a quarter. But even at once a quarter, if I'm consistently getting a call into my sphere, it's probably more than most people are doing. We know it is. One of the reasons we know it is because we can go look at the NAR number that shows 26%. 90% of our clients said they'd work with us again. Only 26 or 27% do. Why? Because we don't talk to them again. We don't call them once a quarter even. Right? There are past clients in your database right now that you haven't talked to in 3 years, 5 years, however long it's been since they bought a house. Okay, we mail our sphere once a month. Now, sometimes those are invitations to the same event that we called them about, right? Sometimes those are just sold postcards where we're just letting them know that, hey, we're rocking out here. Like, we're doing business and we're selling. It's not in the area of town you live in, but sometimes that's a market report for their area, right? A little postcard out of Brivity Marketer. We have, sometimes that's a holiday postcard, Kevin. Sometimes that's a Merry Christmas, right? But each month, and look, we're very fortunate around here to have some amazing operations individuals. I think all of our place teams, right? Ben Kinney's teams have an operations person, and they generally handle what that send out to our sphere is going to be each month. But Brivity Marketer could make this really easy, right? You get a list loaded up in there. You use some of the different templates that we have in there. And we're just getting some kind of a mail in front of them. Now, a couple times a year, that mail is going to be like a home value. So, like, would you like to see what your home's value is today, right? To see if we can get anybody in our sphere to kind of raise their hand and go, I'm kind of curious, Bob, what my house is worth right now. We do a lot of postcards, a lot of invitations. We try to get one handwritten note card into our sphere throughout the course of a year, Kevin. Just a quick, unexpected, little heartfelt message. Those kind of things in today's day and age go freaking far, bud.
Long way.
They go really, really far, right? You can build a lot of goodwill with somebody if they think, my God, Kevin sat down and took the time to write me this really thoughtful message and dropped it in the mail with a stamp like it's 1930. This guy's a
big deal.
Right?
I love getting letters.
Yeah. I think, look, most people do, by the way.
Yeah.
But we drop a like on their Facebook picture and think, oh, that'll do it. Right? That'll solidify that relationship with them. Once a month, right? So we're up to, if we did the calls, we'd have 12 touches. We sent our piece of mail, we'd have another 12. We're at 24. And Brivity's got all the address, right? Make sure that we're going in our sphere and we're setting up the mailing address and the letter salutation so that when we run the export for our mail list, everything's buttoned up. Email. Okay, so we used to, Kevin, put a lot of time into what we send in our emails. We do a newsletter every month, right? And so we have to write it. And it became this thing that was kind of an anchor on us. We were just like, oh my God, I only got 2 days to finish this newsletter and send it out to everybody.
What am I going to write about?
Right. Yeah, what am I going to write about this month, right? And then at some point we went to one of those newsletter services, right? They just create a bunch of stuff. And so we got the same newsletter everybody else in town.
Everybody else, yeah.
Right. And then we would try to do like a one-to-one email. Like, oh, I come across an article in the Bellingham Herald about youth soccer, and I'm going to send it to Kevin because I know his boys play soccer, right? Like, we don't do any of that anymore. All we do is we send them market reports every 2 weeks. Now, twice a month. This is what we use today. Now, we got to have their address, Kevin. You got to have their email to be able to do this. right? Which is why we started way in the beginning by filling in the blanks in our database so that we can send these out to people, right? Now, these market reports are so good. Kevin, I was just on with the team 20 minutes before we came on this call who had 3,000 contacts in their database with an address and an email, a physical address and an email address, 3,000 contacts. None of them had a market report going out to. They had like 14 market reports set up in the database and 3,000 people that could be getting one that weren't. We like, Cap, sometimes I get up in the morning and I'm pissed. I'm just like, I'm ornery and I'm mad. And the reason is because that night I dreamed about a time. It would have been back in about 2005 or 6, Kevin.
Yeah.
Our MLSs, instead of hamstringing us, they let us have all of our data to be able to share with our customers. And the reason I'm pissed is because the boogeyman in my dream, Kevin, was Zillow, who stood up in our industry back in 2006 and promised our customers, hey, here's what your neighbor's house is sold for. And our MLSs were like, no, you can't show them that, right? You can't show them that, Amy Gray. Gloria, sorry, all that data your MLS has, you can't show them. Zillow can go collect it from all the county recorders and all that and spend millions and billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to like build this tool that our customers can go to. But thank goodness, Kevin, 5 years ago, NAR finally said, okay, we should allow vendors to help our agents leverage the sold data.
Yeah.
So we built market reports. By far, guys, I've been doing this for 20, coming up on 21 years. We've never sent something out to databases, to our customers, to real estate leads, that gets opened as frequently as our market reports do.
It's frightening. Sometimes we go into our customers' market reports and we see they've opened it up 40, 50 times since the time that we sent it, sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah.
They're driving by that house. Yeah.
What's on our market report, Kevin? Active listings, anything active around that where they live, pendings, or anything that was for sale, but somebody wants to buy it and they're in the process of buying it, or solds. Anything that's sold around them. And then what did it sell for? And what does it look like? What are the pictures on the inside? My neighbor's got 450, Kevin. Could we get 450? I don't know. What's their house look like?
Our kitchen's so much nicer, Bob. What do you mean?
We updated ours, Kevin. We might get 475. Like, let's call Kevin and see.
Yeah, this is a report that you would talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors, that you could actually set up a monthly call with them, have a conversation about what's on this report.
Right?
What a great way to stay in touch, stay engaged, keep that relationship.
Three of our calls this year, Kevin, could be talking about the market report and what they see on there. If they have any questions,
yes,
if they're excited about the direction of the market, or one day it'll be like, are we sad about it? But what are we going to do? You guys are going to be here for a while. Do we need to sell now? Like, whatever. Guys, these are so stinking valuable. And out of, like, my mom, again, agent, right? We call them come list me emails. And she gets one a month. She's got 4,500 market reports going out to her entire database, and all her sphere now, her cousin's getting one, Gavin, right? And super, super valuable. If you're not giving them this information, your sphere and your past clients are going to find out what their neighbor's house sold for. They're just going to go do it on Zillow or Redfin, and they're going to end up as a lead in another agent or team's database. And you better hope it's not Ben Kinney's. Gavin, if your past client ends up in Ben Kinney's database, like, it's on, brother. We're going racing for your client, right?
Yeah.
Right. 3 times a year, we like to get face to face with our people. So we do these at events. We do this at the Easter egg, right? When we have the Easter bunny come out, a lot of our teams do this in a lot of different ways, right? Sometimes with our A+, we have dinner with them a couple times a year. We invite them to dinner because they're an A+ client who refers us 2 or more transactions every single year, Gavin. Like, we treat them a little bit better, right? If they're an A client, they get invited to the movie theater when we rent the movie theater out and do some special screenings of Star Wars or whatever the fancy movie of the month is, right? We're constantly trying to get them to come to us. And so we do events or invite them to dinner or, occasionally we'll drop by, but we're pretty diligent about making sure that multiple times a year we get to see our people. And so we do, a lot of events to try to drive them towards us. And then the last one is one time a month on social media, right? And on social media, we talk with our agents about having one meaningful interaction. So like touching somebody on social media, Kevin, is not liking their photo, right? It's really not even writing, great picture, Kevin. Wow, you guys look so great, right? It's saying something like, oh my gosh, Kevin, you and the wife, you guys look amazing in that photo. Did you get your haircut recently? Like we were rocking that long hair for a while, bud, but you look, it looks tight and clean right now. We should get together for, it's something that stands out from all the other just boring, inane comments that people leave, right? Great pick. It might be a message on social. Hey, Kevin, it's been a while, man. How are you? We missed you at the food truck rally last month. Make sure you get it on your calendar for April. We're having the Easter Bunny out. Like, your boys love the Easter Bunny. It's something like specific and intentional. Again, Kevin, people don't like getting dripped on. People want to feel in this world that's becoming more and more fast-paced and messages and 7 million ways they can communicate with us and liking photos and automation and like people still long for like a human connection, right? And like, if you guys, when you do slow down in your world and you write a thank you note to somebody, like it's just those things stand out.
I think people know the effort and the lack of effort messaging can portray.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
If it's automated, there's very little effort put into it. If it's something that is has a lot of media, a lot of flavor to it, then that shows you put a little bit of work.
Like these are one of the best things that they are automated, but they're about they're where they live.
Some they want, need, or desire, right there for sure.
A lot of value in those. All right. Mm-hmm. That's it. So what do we got? Let's go back. One call, that's 12. One piece of physical mail, that's 24. 2 emails, that's another 24. So now we're at 48 touches on them. 3 times face-to-face is 51, Gavin.
Yeah.
And then 1 social media touch a month would be another 12. That'd be 63 touches. If you want to get your sphere in gear, you have to consistently be top of mind. Here's something that we're constantly talking about this, Kevin. Chad, Glenn, you guys, like, I don't know you, Chad or Glenn, but I'd be willing to put Ben Kinney up against anybody on this call in terms of like how good he is with his scripts. And Glenn, you might be just as good as Ben. You'd be hard pressed to get any better than him, but you may be just as good as him. And so let's say Glenn was just as good as Ben. If Glenn and Ben got on the phones and started calling their sphere, Kevin, they're not going to convince them to buy or sell houses.
Never. That's
like
what we do.
You're right. You don't call your friend, right? Your sphere, your PAX client, and be like, hey, Kevin, how's it going, man? You guys thinking about buying or selling anytime soon? And Kevin's like, no, we love our house, man. This is perfect for the family. Like, we got the extra room for the, like I got my garage out there so I could work on my classic cars. Like, I love my house. And I'm like, oh yeah, Kevin, well, interest rates are rising. Like, what about now? Do you want to sell now? And Kevin's like, what are you talking about, dude? No, I love my house. I just told you. Like, we're not going to give people a script to buy or sell.
Yeah.
We show up this often to our sphere because we want to make sure when they decide they're going to do it, right, Kevin? They're like, I'm thinking about selling, honey, Jimmy's getting ready to graduate, right? And like, this is just too much house and I hate cleaning all. And like, we're going to downsize. And like, and when I'm ready, I'm ready. And when I do that, then the vast majority, it's 3/4. And these, again, they're out of the NAR survey, but buyers and sellers, right? It hovers right around 75%, 72 to 77 over the last 10 years. It's fluctuated. 75% of them, Kevin, talk to one agent. They talk to one agent, right? It might be the agent that their friend referred them to. It might be the agent they did business with in the past, but often it's not. That's 75% of the time, it's not the agent they did business with in the past. It's the last agent that showed up in their world. So we make sure that we are aggressively showing up in the world of our sphere because we know, Kevin, of 200 sphere, we did the math earlier, right at the beginning, right? Of 200 sphere, 18 of them are going to buy a house this year, whatever that math was, right? 60% in Bellingham, so 120, 12 of them are going to buy a house this year. And then they're going to know people that are going to buy houses this year. And if I can get a couple referrals out of there, like we believe there's 12 to 24 deals coming out of my sphere every single year. I just got to be consistently following up with it. What kind of questions do you guys have about this? Maria,
kind of
reports, absolutely a part of the platform. Sorry, Kevin, cut you off there. And I know that you
no, yeah, just not many questions coming in. Been kind of a quiet group.
Okay. Do you guys have a question? You can fire it in right now. He gave you the link to that NAR report. If you guys don't read that NAR report, by the way, it's some of the best, like, and it's not even a read, Kevin, right? It's a bunch of graphs.
Good stuff.
It gives a lot of insight into how we run. Like, we use that to inform how we run our business, right? When we send these market reports, why? Because we know there's this thing called the loyalty gap, and most of our past clients don't do business with us. So if we can just keep reminding them that we are the expert and we have the data and we know what's going on in their market and their neighborhood, there's a much higher likelihood that they are going to engage us when they're ready, right, Walt? Because they're ready when they're ready. They look for the closest agent. We want to make sure that's us. All right. Appreciate you guys. It's Wednesday. Get out there and slay the rest of the week. I expect from Maria and Walt, $1 million listing consultations this weekend. Lots of signatures, you guys.
Hey, Bob, is everybody on this call on the Brivity platform currently, or is there others that we want to?
Well, Maria's asking questions that would indicate she's not. So here's the deal. If you're on here, there's not actually that many. Here's what we do, Kevin. If you're on here and you'd like our listing presentation, the Ben Kinney team listing presentation, text platform right now. Just pull your phone out and text the word platform to 59559. If you do that, one of our people will call you, one of our sales reps will call you, but they will give you the Ben Kinney team listing presentation. All you got to do is tell them, I was just on a webinar with Bob, and he said that if I do a demo with you, you'll give me Ben's listing presentation. And they'll make sure when you're done, you can get your hands on that. It's actually an editable like slide deck that you can go in and remove our logo and stick your logo on it. Now, the trick is that it highlights different elements of the Brivity platform. But if you don't end up buying the Brivity platform, you can rip those elements out and you could have the listing presentation that we use on Ben's teams. And in fact, go Google Ben Kinney listing presentation and you can watch Ben deliver the listing presentation using the documents that you would have access to or have your hands on and be able to edit and slap your own logo on. So not a Brivity client, check it out. If you are a Brivity client, we also have Ben Kinney's listing presentation for you and you can get your hands on that. So, Kevin?
Yeah.
Love you, my friend. Big fan.
Appreciate you.
All right. You have an awesome afternoon out there in Austin, Texas. I'm up here in Bellingham, Washington. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this beautiful morning here in town.
All right.
Wherever you're at, Adriana and Walt, Maria, thank you guys for joining me. Have a fantastic afternoon, and text platform to 59559 if you'd like to chat with us about how you can hop on the Brivity platform and start getting your sphere in gear. Kevin, we'll talk to you later, bud.